wasn't in an upright position, just to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yes.
We're talking about the corn rake coming up this way, correct?
Yes.
All right. As you sit here, well, let me ask you this. At the time of your deposition in 2023, was that your understanding of how she had been found?
Yes.
Was that your understanding at the time of your autopsy?
Yes.
As of the time of your deposition in 2023, had anyone ever told you that that was not how she was found?
Not that I recall.
Did you base your opinions in this case on an understanding that at the time that Ms. Mullis was found, the handle of the corn rake was extending up over her head?
No.
And when you say no, can you explain to me what you mean by that?
How someone said they found the rake, the position of the handle, the position of her body, the rake was moved. Removed from her body. If I saw the corn rake like that, then maybe I could take it into consideration, but a simple description such as that had no bearing on my determination and was unnecessary to make the determination of homicide.
Why was it unnecessary for your ability to determine whether this was a homicide to try to determine what position the rake was in at the time Ms. Mullis was found?
Ms. Mullis was impaled with the corn rake, and how the corn rake ended up in her doesn't really change the fact that it's homicide.
And I want to make sure that I've asked my question in a clear way. And I'm going to ask with the court's permission, because I don't remember exactly how I worded it, is it possible for the court reporter to read the question back, Your Honor?
It is.
Thank you.
Why was it unnecessary for your ability to determine whether this was a homicide, to try to determine what position the rake was in at the time Ms. Mullis was found?
Was that your understanding of my question when you gave the answer you just gave?
Yes.
Am I correct that it was not important to you to understand the position that the corn rake was in at the time Ms. Mullis was found?
I would need more information to consider it, such as what injuries were associated with that corn rake in the position in which it were found, if you follow.
Well, at the time of your autopsy, what you were doing was looking at her injuries and trying to understand what those injuries were. Is that correct?
Well, I could tell what her injuries were.
Was the purpose of your autopsy to assess what her injuries were?
Yes.
And so when you say that you would need more information, would it have assisted your analysis of whether or not Ms. Mullis, the manner of Ms. Mullis's death was a homicide, to understand the position that the rake was in relative to her body when she was found with the rake in her?
No.
We've been talking about your conversation with Deputy Homicide at the time of the autopsy. And during your conversation with Deputy Homicide during the autopsy, did you discuss with him the possibility of Ms. Mullis's injuries being the result of a fall?
We did discuss how they were not the result of a fall.
Well, during the autopsy itself, before you had finished the autopsy, did you tell Deputy Homicide that it was your opinion that the injuries that you observed during the autopsy were not the result of a fall?
I told him definitively at the end, and he had asked, and we discussed that they were allegedly from a fall, and he asked me, could they be from a fall? And I said no.
Was it your opinion that these injuries weren't from a fall, even before you finished looking at Ms. Mullis's body?
It was determined at the end of the autopsy. Much of the examination is that external examination that begins the entire process. So I had a pretty clear idea before the internal examination began, and did not issue a final opinion until the end. But I was certain at the beginning that it was a homicide, and everything else within my autopsy supported that. I remained open throughout and found no evidence to the contrary.
Listening to the pathologist on the stand, we are going to get in a quick break, but don't go anywhere. You're watching Court TV. Your front row seat to justice. We're coming right back.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, a father stands trial on charges that he shot his 2 children, killing one of them. We'll unpack today's key moments as the bedtime murder trial gets underway.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Fabio Cementilli killed in cold blood. But did his wife orchestrate his murder? What you need to know before court begins each day in the celebrity stylist murder trial.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Now to Iowa, where defendant Todd Mullis is back in court for a post-conviction relief hearing. Mullis was convicted of first-degree murder back in 2019 in the death of his wife, Amy Mullis. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. But the defense believes Mullis deserves a new trial. Right now, the defense is questioning the pathologist who conducted Amy's autopsy. Let's go back in for more.
Great.
Did you determine that Ms. Mullis's injuries were a homicide before you did your internal examination of her body?
Homicide was the manner of choice at that time. However, as I said, I remained open and found no evidence to the contrary.
While you were conducting the autopsy with Deputy Hemasath present, did he ask you if he could bring the corn rake into the autopsy to assist in an analysis of this case?
He asked if he could bring the corn rake closer to Ms. Mullis and her clothing items. I said I preferred to keep them separate. The corn rake itself was within the autopsy suite, which is rather large, for the purpose of photographing it. The corn rake did not come in contact with Ms. Mullis during the autopsy.
During the autopsy, did you photograph the corn rake?
Yes.
During the autopsy, did you compare the corn rake directly with the injuries on Ms. Mullis's body?
I examined each separately. As I had said, I did not put them close together, but I examined them separately and within a very small time period.
How far apart were the tines on the corn rake?
I would have to check my notes. I don't quite remember.
Which notes would you like to check to answer that question?
I guess I would have to go back at the photographs because I did not put that in my actual written notes or in my autopsy report.
Was it important to your analysis to know how far apart the tines of the corn rake were?
It was information to consider. Like I said, there had been no information to suggest that anything other than the corn rake caused her injuries. There are some inherent difficulties in comparing a fixed object with the human body, which is malleable and can contort into different positions. So taking straight measurements from an object and comparing them directly with the body is fraught with issues. But measurements such as that are important just to have every bit of evidence possible.
Is there a reason, if it was important for you to have those measurements, that you didn't document them in your notes or your report?
They were documented with photographs, and I can't recall why I didn't simply write it down.
You talked about, during your autopsy, conducting both an internal examination and an external examination of Ms. Mullis's body. And I want to ask you, just as to the external examination, you examined, well, during the autopsy, did you examine her face and her head?
Yes.
Did you examine the front of her chest?
Yes.
Did you examine her hands?
Yes.
Did you examine her knees?
Yes.
And I think you told us a minute ago that you did examine, you had the clothing that she'd been wearing accessible to you at the autopsy as well.
Yes.
What was your understanding of what clothing she'd been wearing that would have covered the top half of her body at the time that she experienced these injuries?
I know on the outer layer she was wearing a thick jacket, and I believe she had 2 additional layers of clothing on top.
At the time that you conducted the autopsy, did you look at Ms. Mullis's clothing for any holes?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
The holes were actually quite obvious when we photographed them. It's within our standard procedure to photograph clothing as it is received, so I make note of everything I see.
How many holes did you see on Ms. Mullis's coat at autopsy?
I saw multiple holes. I did not count them.
Were the holes in her clothing important information to help you determine what the cause and manner of her death were?
No.
Did you photograph her clothing during the autopsy with the holes that you'd observed in the clothing marked?
Yes.
Did you take, well, I'm actually going to show you, at this moment, Your Honor, I'm going to show the witness exhibit 524.
Maybe.
Is that being displayed?
Yes.
She has it now, yes.
You've been shown, Dr. Kruse, what's been marked as exhibit 524. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes.
What is it?
It's an autopsy photograph. This is of Ms. Mullis's jacket. It has a ruler with our state medical examiner number on it and a number of arrows that point to defects in the clothing.
Does exhibit 24 accurately reflect the holes that you saw in the jacket at autopsy?
It accurately reflects what I saw at autopsy, yes.
Well, did you or your assistant put 4 large arrows on the 4 holes that you saw in the jacket to document those holes in this photograph?
Yes, my assistant did.
Was this photograph the only documentation of the holes that you saw? Let me ask this question again. Was this photograph, Exhibit 524, the only documentation that you made of the holes in Ms. Mullis's jacket at autopsy?
There are other photographs. I can't recall if they have arrows or not.